Well, hello everyone, and welcome to TLP Live Sunday night. This is Dan Danielowski, and we got a great show for you tonight. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Dan, how you doing? Happy Sunday, bud.
Happy Sunday. You know, isn't it something how through the wonder of technology, here we are again on a Sunday night, talking to each other and talking to all our TLP fans out there. So
it's crazy. I mean, we're only 500 feet from each other right now, and we're on technology.
Yeah.
And I hope you had a great Father's Day last Sunday. We took the day off to celebrate Father's Day, and obviously, Dan, you are a father and a grandfather, something like 20 times over. So I hope you had a wonderful Father's Day to celebrate all of your kids and grandkids.
I did. It was wonderful, and we continued celebrating all this week. We've been out visiting grandkids all this week, so that's been kind of fun.
Amazing.
Well, Paul, we're going to start off tonight with some sad news.
Yes.
We've been trying to keep the fires burning here at TLP, but it just wasn't to be. This past Monday, they put out all the Phase 4 information about opening, and with the guidelines that come through Phase 4, with the gathering bans as they were, and just with the numbers of things that are happening with COVID, TLP board decided on their Thursday night meeting to cancel the rest of 2020 season. So we're going to have to let you know we're not going to be doing shows in the theater this season.
And I think that it's important to know, Dan, if you remember when the phasing system came out, theaters weren't even allowed to open in Phase 4. They weren't going to be able to open until Phase 5. And so on Monday, Governor Pritzker did change his mind about that. He allowed theaters and outdoor arenas to open in Phase 4 with a big caveat, however, which is that we can only sell 50 tickets per show.
And it's kind of rough for us because at this point, we wouldn't even be able to get everyone in the theater who has already bought a ticket. 50 tickets per show come to 600 tickets per production, and we've sold a little over 1,200 per production. And so that was a real difficult thing to look at how we would solve.
Yeah, and not to mention just the social distancing, and of course our priority has always been the safety and health of our patrons and our artists that we bring and our employees. And I think that the board had one of the biggest decisions they had to make in the theater's history. But I will say, Dan, I think that they did make the right decision, and I do support that decision, and I know you do too. And I know it comes with a heavy heart that we need to bring this to our audiences. But I'm hopeful that our audiences and patrons will understand. I'm hopeful that the good news is we do have some virtual programming that we're going to be releasing in the next couple weeks coming up, and I'm really excited about that. And more importantly, Dan, I know that our audiences will be there for us in 21 when we will come out of the gates full blast and have that summer that we're supposed to have.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that virtual programming. We're looking at putting together a virtual concert. Paul, why don't you talk about that just a little bit?
I'm really excited about this, Dan. One of the things that we're going to be able to do with this technology, TLP Live has been able to be really instrumental for us to be able to bring on not only past alumni, but also current alumni and some of our TLP famous friends. And what we're going to do is we're going to combine all of that. We're going to pull out all the stop, and we are going to bring you one of the biggest extravaganzas on the virtual TLP stage, and that is going to be, from past performers of alumni, special guests. We're going to have singers. We're going to have dancing. We're going to have comedy. We're going to have everything. We're even, going to show off our education program and what they've been up to since they've been here. And it is going to be a night to remember, and I'm really excited about that. And that's going to be coming up. That's going to be coming up in the coming weeks. We're going to post all the date that's going to be happening. We're going to be posting our guests who are going to be coming to perform, And, Dan, I really think this is an excellent opportunity for our TLP family across the country and the globe to be able to celebrate TLP, because although we can't gather this year on stage, we can gather virtually and we can celebrate the wonderful, wonderful entity that is Timberlake Playhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're also looking at another virtual show. We've gone back and looked at video. We have video back about 10 years, and I know there's more video than that we're researching and pulling in. And we're going to put together a show that'll be some scenes, short, quick scenes from shows over the past however many years we can find video for, and then some photographs and also interviews with people. So those are the two things right now that we're working on and getting a good look at. But since we're not working on stage, we'll be able to put some time into our virtual program and be able to bring that into us.
And this is also a great time to invite our audiences. If you were a TLP alum and you have some video of your year, feel free to send it to. You can send it to casting@timberlakeplayhouse.org, and we will be able to take a look at it there, and hopefully we can use that into this idea that we have going on.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So right now, unfortunately, there's our stage with the lone ghost light. And that's how it's going to look for a while until COVID gets past us. With all the estimates that we're seeing out there, we should be back up and running by next March or April. We'll get back with our concert schedule, start doing our productions as scheduled. And I know a lot of people are asking, are we going to do the same productions from this season, just move them to next season? And the answer to that is, right now, we just don't know. There's a lot of stuff we have to look at. There's logistics with all of the show licenses. There's also, what happens to fit, what might still be available with our concerts, what bands are still even going to be together in a year. So I know one of the bands that we were booking is kind of looking at this as being their retirement year, so we may not get them all back. So that's the bad news. The
good news is that we definitely will be doing our world premiere. What a Wonderful World is definitely on the docket. We have confirmed with all of our producing partners that Timberlake will remain the world premiere venue for that show. And so while the other titles, we're going to work with our reading committee and licensing houses to make sure that, and we'll make sure that we bring those confirmed titles before the summer's over, so that people know what those are. But we can say that What a Wonderful World is definitely going to be one of the 6 productions on the main stage show that we will be doing.
And we'll start working on this next week, and we should have some answers by hopefully the 1st of August, which is typically when we announce.
We'll keep announcing on TLP Live, right, Dan?
There you go. Absolutely. And then, of course, don't forget our education program. Take a look at that. There is quite a array of TLP teaching artists from around the country. Get on our website, jump onto our virtual education program. It's a great program. And with the new opening guidelines, we find that we are also now able to do some on-site programming. So we're looking at what on-site camp and workshop type programming we want to add.
Well, that is exciting. And you know what, Dan? I mean, I don't know about you, but I have been hearing nothing but wonderful things from some of our patrons who have been signing up. The best thing about this one is it's all ages. It's not just, we have something for kids, we have something for teenagers, we have something for adults, and everybody who has been taking classes or viewing the webinars or taking the lessons have really been raving about the program. So I'm excited about that, and I'm encouraging everybody, if you haven't already, if you're on the fence about it, jump in. It is a blast, and you just don't want to miss what these teachers that Robert's put together can bring everybody.
They are really awesome. I took a guitar lesson with a guitar teacher. Everyone had to do a test lesson, so I said, I'll volunteer for guitar. I learned so much about guitar scales in one lesson. It's been amazing.
Are you ready to go on tour? Can we go on tour then? I mean,
Yeah. I think we'll go out on Highway 40.
that's right. That's right.
All right, very good. Hey, we got a great show tonight.
We do.
Last summer was interesting. We had a group from that were here in 1983, 84, 82 in that area, who came out and visited. They spent the weekend, saw shows here. Spent time in the area, which they do often. This is one of the places where they get back together and meet with some of their old TLP friends. And we have one of the members of that group with us tonight. Let's bring on Russ Leander. Hey, Russ.
Hey, Russ.
Hey, guys. Hey, this is great.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We didn't just come back to visit. We thought we were just going to come and hang out and maybe see a show, and it turned out that we all just fell back in love with TLP and everything that it meant to us then, and has grown to mean even more to the community. We were just reading through the program. This is essential. This is essential to this community that we got to know and that we got to become reacquainted with over one weekend. And it was just smashing. We saw the Man of La Mancha, or is it Man of La Mancha? It's what?
Man of La Mancha.
Man of La Mancha. And it was stunning. The grounds are gorgeous. They've all been not only maintained but rehabbed and improved, and just everything was so gorgeous. We just wandered around there before the show, looking at the grounds and just amazed that we were there the 22nd year of TLP, which we thought that was pretty successful for a theater. And now you're at is this your 55th?
59th.
59th. That's incredible. It's a miracle. And you guys, I have no doubt that TLP has become so essential to the people that I still know back there, that they're just going to be there for you, because Carroll County and all the outlying areas just aren't the same. Won't be the same without TLP. It couldn't.
So what years were you here at TLP?
I was there 1981, 82 as an actor. And then 1983, I was the artistic director.
Okay. So in those years, we had some famous people there too, right? People that went on and made a name for themselves in different places.
Did better than I did, that's for sure.
I have a picture of one of them here.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's
yeah, go ahead. Identify the people in the picture for me.
The guy on the right is me. I was playing a psychiatrist in Equus, and the fellow in the back was this like 17 or 18-year-old punk from not Dixon. Where was he from?
He was from Rockford.
Rockford. And he was an intern, and he just tore us up. He was extraordinary, and really a real challenge to work with, because he was so intense, so serious, so committed, and just such a natural. We just let him.
Well, and we find that some of our interns, actually to be an intern at TLP is quite a coup, because this intern happened to go on and direct on Broadway. He has won several Tony Awards. He is the director of Wicked, is probably the one that you would.
Oh yeah, I heard of that. Yeah.
And yes, he's from Rockford. He graduated from Boylan High School, I think, in '79 or '80. and was, yes, intense was the word for him. I remember him when he was in high school. So, yeah.
You should tell everybody his name so that they know that was Joe Montello, who was who played, I believe, Alan to Russell's Dysart in that show Equus.
Mhm.
And now you can also find Joe on the screen. I believe he's on a Netflix show as an actor.
Oh, what's he doing?
I knew you were going to ask me that one.
Okay, next week we'll know that.
Yes, I'll have to research. I know he's there.
All right, very good, very good. And you had another pretty famous actress with you at that time. I'm going to put her picture up. And you were also in this show. This isn't you. This is John Otten on the right. And John was going to be with us tonight. Maybe John had trouble figuring out how to make his StreamYard work. I don't know.
Well, you need to get him back on the show again sometime because he he was around for a lot of stuff, and there was nothing he couldn't do. But he's there with Jane Howdyshell.
Jane Howdyshell on the left.
Yep, Jane Howdyshell, who was to have been in rehearsals right now for The Music Man with Hugh Jackman and a couple of other people. So her next Broadway show has been put aside, not unlike what's happened to you guys. So I'm sure that's kind of heartbreaker. But she's also in, I haven't seen it, she's in Little Women that just came out.
Right, yeah.
And I heard she's terrific.
Yes, I heard she's terrific too. I haven't seen that either. She was also in, I saw her in an episode of Blue Bloods, and she was just incredible in that. I was amazed. And one of my trips into the city, we went to see her production of, oh gosh, now the name falls out of my head. What's that show we talk about, Paul?
The Humans?
Yeah, The Humans, where she won a Tony for The Humans, and she was just incredible. So it's really fun to have people from TLP, go on, and then we, see them being successful outside of after they left us.
And those who I know who still keep in contact with, the conversation doesn't go to what their latest movie was or what their next production is. It's back when we all did this stuff.
Yeah.
And just roaring it with laughter over what we would do for $30 a week.
Yeah.
$30 a week.
$30 a week. No, I think I actually made 60. But that was terrific. We didn't have time to spend.
I was going to ask you, Russ, because obviously you were not only an actor, but you were the artistic director here for a year. Talk a little bit about when you came back last summer and you had such a great group, and I so enjoyed reconnect. Just getting a chance to meet a lot of them, and actually I turned out that I went to school with Martin Herm, who was with you, and he was a grad student and I was an undergrad, and. Tell us a little bit about what was same, what grabbed you as same with TLP, and what had changed over the years.
Let's see. Well, first of all, Marty Herm.
Yeah.
Marty Herm, terrific. He went to Loras College. He and another guy, Jerry Baggett. I the way I cast, I usually know if they're in the running by how they say hello when they walk into the room. It's just, you just kind of know. And by the end of the audition, if I'm going, I just want to work. I want to be in a play with this person, and because they're good humored, they'll take direction. They'll look you in the eye. Just their vibe. You just kind of know that you want to know these people and work with them, and that was Marty. That was so many of these people. People said, "What's the secret of putting together a good company?" And really, I think that's it. It's the character of the people. I've worked with a lot of extremely successful and well-known people that I probably wouldn't want to work with again. They were, standoffish, or were easily bothered. And when I would audition people, I would ask them to do the strangest thing. I would ask somebody to. I remember the guy that we hired, Brad Minkoff, who also spent a good deal of time on Broadway, did Cats forever and ever. He was kind of a wild man. He came in with this big energy, and I just asked him to sit down in a folding chair, and I wrapped up. There was a sleeping bag or something on the floor, and I put it in his lap, and I said, "Show me what it would be like for you to sing Happy Birthday to your 1-year-old child." And he didn't. He didn't kind of look at me like, "What?" He just did it, and it was a beautiful thing. And we just kind of knew that this was the kind of person that we wanted to work with. And that's
Amazing.
That's how we worked auditions.
Now, it's interesting because when we audition these days, we go to a lot of unified auditions. We spend a lot of time traveling across the country to look for people. What was the process when you were AD and you had to go? Did you go to the unifieds? Did you go to one area, a couple schools? How was the process for you?
New York, Detroit, Mount Carroll, and I think there was one other one. Michigan Theater audition. I think we went to U of C too, because or University of Illinois, because that's where Bill Raffeld, a prior artistic director, ran the theater department, and so he'd have some of their students. So they kind of came to us, but we found some remarkable people. Gee,
you sure did. You sure did. Some amazing, talented people.
And nice. Yeah.
So, Russ, what'd you do before you came to Timberlake?
I was a publicist for Broadway. Well, I was an actor. I got a degree in acting from Northern Arizona University, the Hollywood of the Southwest.
Okay.
And moved to New York. What did I do? I sold cheese. I dressed up in one of those foam suits and did out free cigarettes at 57th and 7th. But I had a zillion jobs. I got a job as a greeting card illustrator. I cleaned apartments. I opening nights. I just crazy stuff like that. But I ended up, the biggest job I spent was I was a publicist for Columbia Artists Theatricals that put out the Broadway road companies of all the big shows that were big back then. So I got to see every Broadway show for nothing.
Where did you end up now? Where are you based? Where are you based now? Where do you call home?
I'm based on the north side of Chicago in Andersonville. And what I'm doing, going back to that your question about Equus, I'm a psychotherapist now. So
wow! So you really took that role and ran with it.
I just thought, well, this is fun. I get to sit down for 2.5 hours. Yeah, that's the kind of job I want. Yeah, so that's and I teach at Northeastern Illinois University as a counselor department. So yeah, it was just it's a remarkable experience, and I hope it's not. I hope it hasn't seen its best days. The summer stock, the institution of summer stock, summer theater. I just think it's an essential part of one's education, of what it offers, Carroll County and the surrounding areas to really have a tradition to look forward to. It's a celebration that they can share with their neighbors and their friends, and there's no downside. There's no downside to having a theater in your hometown. There is none. People come to see it. When we came back to Mount Carroll, we were there on a Sunday morning, and we drove into town square, and the Mennonite ladies were out selling their breads and their jars of stuff like this. And we went to Raven's Grin, which was
yeah.
which was
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah, we didn't make it through. A couple people just got too freaked out, which is what I think it's supposed to do. But it's just a remarkable place to be, and to bring in people from around the country to experience this kind of life. Not only to be able to do theater, but to see how a place like Mount Carroll works and supports itself and each other, and just it's a part of America that people just need to know about, because it's strong and essential, and it
I see one of the shows that you did while you were here was the Robert Bridegroom.
you like that show, don't you? Didn't we
I
talk about
love that show. I've done that show 4 times. We call that the show, the best show nobody comes to see.
I swear to you, we've got a videotape of that. We do a video.
I would love a copy of that videotape to use
The guy-
on our show we're putting together.
Sure. The guy who directed it, Dan Yergaitis, just won an award from the Kennedy Center for his work in theater, and it was astonishing. It should not have been nearly as funny or cohesive as it was with 12 days to put it together. But,
What role did you play in it?
Goat.
Absolutely! What a great role.
Yeah, any chance to black out my teeth and walk on my ankles, I'm in. You know.
Well, as you can see from this, I did Big Harp once.
Oh!
The head in the box.
The head in the box. Oh.
The hardest part was when Little Harp would grab my hair and pull my head up.
Yeah, I'd do it again. I would do it
too. I'm pushing for that show here with a big outdoor bluegrass festival.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said before I'm done doing theater, I want to do it to a full house every night. It's such a good show. Oh my gosh, it's such a good show.
Yeah. We did it with, and I want to mention Ross Lowe.
Of course. Yes.
Ross was our one-man orchestra, and it's a bluegrass musical that he somehow brought to life with an electric piano and a wood block.
Wow.
What he could do with a piano was still, well, you'll see when you see the scene.
Yeah.
What a great an enormous contribution his adult life was to Timberlake. I was a little too young to recognize genius when I saw it, but he could really do anything with a smile on his face. Yeah. And I just I praise his name.
Whenever we talk about Timberlake Playhouse, and we say when we're on the road and we're looking for people that they're auditioning, and we must see these days probably close to 5,000 candidates for these 18 coveted slots in the acting and about a 20 pack in the tech. We always talk about how the experience of Timberlake will go with them forever. They will make friends, they will make acquaintances and colleagues that they will stay in contact with and treasure those moments for as long as they live. And Russ, talking to you has really been inspirational for me, because it means that everything that we say to these young artists that come here is absolutely true. You are, carrying that banner that, you have talked about how you came here last season. I don't know how long it's been since you've seen some of them, but you reignited. It was like a day hadn't gone by. You were watching shows. You were reminiscing about your days here. And that is exactly really what the magic of not only Timberlake, but Summerstock in general, is. And I couldn't agree more that it is an American pastime. It's an American kind of trial by fire, that if you want to get into this business, you go through a Summerstock. And if you can come out on the other end, not only will you have lifelong friends, but you can do it. You can do anything.
I agree completely. One of the interesting things that happened, you're the president of your board. I forgot his name. The gentleman we met last.
Andy Bro.
No, not Andy. Your current board of directors.
I'm not sure who you mean. Was it Larry that you met?
It is Larry. It was Larry who we met.
Yeah.
he showed us around, and
Yeah, well, that was Larry. He's one of our vice presidents.
yeah. And then I saw Dorothy Iran, who I hadn't seen in 35 years.
Yeah.
Who else was there? Gosh,
Andy Rowe came up. I remember us doing pictures with Andy at the end of the night.
God bless him. He's the patron saint of the place, I guess.
Yeah.
Dorothy Iran. Who else was there? But the active board, the board members. I hope they're watching because this is a working board if I've ever seen one. Timberlake doesn't just happen because all the theater people, it's the non-theater people who are outside of the theater but who love theater, who have made this magnificent thing across the street from Timberlake,
Yeah.
Well, we actually have two board members watching right now. Amber Findley is one of our board members, as well as Joe Titus, who is also one of our board members. And actually, Amber she commented, she has said that the show that Joe Montella was in is called Hollywood. That's the show. There you go. Thank you, Amber, for that answer. I could not see. That's how amazing our board is. They come to my rescue when I space things out. They're right there to help.
We didn't have that. We just had to lie. Thank you, Amber. And Joe, that was the other one. Oh, there's Joe Titus. Hi, Joe.
Yep, Joe Titus. Yep.
Never know what kind of actor you get if you audition in Mount Carroll. Joe just auditioned for us here in Mount Carroll.
And Joe is an amazing actor and he's local, so he's both a great actor and a local, and he's very fun.
And he's our board treasurer and has been for years.
Yes, it really has been. One of the things that Dan and I always talk about is the involvement of our board on so many different levels. It takes a small army to put up a show. It takes an even larger army to run a theater, and our board of directors. My hat's off to them because they have been with us through thick and thin and continue to be there. And, it is a wonderful thing to be able to have such passionate people that care so much about this theater.
Yeah.
I exchanged a mail, just a friendly written letter to Mark Zumdahl, who was the president back then, who I reconnected through a friend here in Chicago, and I had to write him a letter 35 years later and say, you may not remember me. Well, it was terrific because he was a terrific president and left a wonderful legacy, and it just continues.
Well, Russell, thank you so much for taking some time this evening to join us, reminisce a little bit about TLP, and if you hang around, we'll see you at the end of the show.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing all of your wonderful memories with our audiences tonight.
I represent dozens, scores of people who have their own little invisible TLP pat on their shoulder for the most wonderful summer they ever spent their lives here. They'll never forget. I'm just one of them.
Amazing. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Russ. Well, that was fun.
Wow. I tell you, it gets me every time, Dan. Every time, it's such a wonderful treat because, we are only part of we are the most recent part of the legacy of TLP. And when we talk about people that go back that far and talk about the experiences and how it really hasn't changed, has it? That magic really does stay with everybody that comes here.
But it reminds us and it grounds us in how important it is for us to keep this place vibrant, keep it going, and be true to how it was founded.
Yeah.
It's another comment from one of our board members.
Well, all of our years are popping up now. Look at this.
Yeah. John was here 2 years ago for Fiddler on the Roof. That was fun. When I heard he was coming that night, it kind of scared me because I'm like, all I've heard from Andy is how wonderful John Otten was, and here I'm playing his role tonight. So I was really, really concerned. And then John and Russ and the rest of their group came up last summer for Man of La Mancha. and for a little bit of time that weekend. Well, very good, very good. Well, I'm going to let you introduce our next guest, Paul.
Oh, all right, all right. Well, our next guest, I'm very excited about. He joined Timberlake Playhouse for his first season last season. This was the first time that we actually hired a full-time resident music director, and he applied for the job, and I loved him. I loved what he had done. I talked with him about what he had, his ideas for what he would do with Timberlake and our resident company, and just his overall energy was just so positive and just smiles, and I knew he would be a gift for the resident company. So I hired him all summer long, and I tell you, I think that was one of the best decisions that I made, and I'm so happy that he was going to be our resident music director this summer as well. And unfortunately, we won't be able to have him here on the campus, but he is virtually with us right now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael McBride.
Gentlemen, so good to see you.
You too. Good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. You know, I gotta say, I remember on a Sunday matinee last summer when Russ and his whole crew came to see Man of La Mancha. I was running from the deck, having done a deck series, to try to run to the theater and put on the show. And I ran into this group that they were kind of looking around, and I wondered, like, did they need help finding places? So I talked to them and then realized this legacy, this treasure that they were, and ended up talking to them for probably longer than I should have. And I think it was actually Joe Titus who came out and was like, Michael, I think you need to come and do this show right now. Let them go to the audience. So I love that Russ was here, and what a beautiful way to just show these links of TLP throughout the generations.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was really wonderful. That was a great. I remember that performance too. It was a great performance, and we were so happy that Russ and the crew got a chance to see that and reminisce and see what we're up to. And you know, one of the things, talk about, you know, TLP past, present, and future. Michael, you were with us for your first year last summer. You were with us the whole summer, which I think was an absolute gift, and I thank you every single day for that. Before we get into the TLP side of things, why don't we introduce our audiences to you a little bit about, you know, who you are, where you came from, and how you found your journey to music.
Absolutely. So I live here in Chicago on the north side, actually just a few miles away from Russ. For the last 15 years, I've been faculty at several universities here in Chicago, teaching in their music programs and theater programs. I'm on faculty at Loyola University, Chicago, as well as North Park University. And at Loyola, I've been music directing their productions for the past 10 years. In fact, I ended up kind of taking over for somebody that, Paul, you worked with a few months ago, Valerie Mays, when she left Chicago. And so I really had been spending all of my time in the university, you know, dedicating my time to my students, and of course they keep me very busy. And a few years ago, I just kind of was feeling like I wanted to branch out, to kind of get outside of the academia circle and just see what was out there, if there's any way that I can kind of grow professionally in some other ways. And so the man who played King Triton in our production of Little Mermaid last summer, Gabriel Mudd, who's a longtime friend of mine, his husband was actually directing a production of Footloose for the Wilmette Park District, just north of Chicago, and asked if I wanted to be a part of that. So I came on as music director, and absolutely loved it, and was just like, oh my gosh, I want to do more of this. And so he had worked with you in the past with the Basquiat reading, and made the connection right around that time. And we had been in conversation for about a year, and I kept checking in with you to see like how things are going, and then you invited me to apply. I remember we were in Colombia over New Year's when we got the message that you invited me to come to be the music director for the season. And it was just, honestly, it was a pivotal moment in my life. I'm so grateful to have found it. And I know we'll talk a lot more about the actual season, but the leading up to it was just one of those moments when I realized I was on the precipice of something that was really important. And it was something that I had to follow.
Amazing. And for me, it was just as the precipice was, as it was, you know, coming into my second season. I knew that I wanted to try some new things. I knew that I wanted to try to find a music director who would come and spend the whole summer with us. And then you magically appeared, and what an amazing summer it quite was. You know, Michael, I think when we talk about music directing, a lot of our audiences might not be really familiar with exactly that role. You know, they might know a lighting designer or director or choreographer. Why don't you tell a little bit about what the role of the music director is?
Absolutely. So music directing, especially at Timberlake Playhouse, is a big job. It incorporates a lot of elements from start to end of anything that is related to music. So anything from contacting musicians to be playing their instruments as part of the orchestra, to creating vocal parts tracks for the actors that I like to do several weeks before we start rehearsing. So I send that to them and they can have a little bit of a leg up. Usually in the beginning of the rehearsal process, whoever is directing blesses me with leadership in the first several days of our 12-day process, so I can spend that time helping the actors learn their parts. We work on, of course, making sure they are accurate with the notes, but also that they're connecting emotionally with what they're saying and how they're going to be telling their story. And then in the tech process, there's a collaboration with the music director and the sound designer and the director, so we can make sure that this show sounds as good as possible. No matter how talented the people are, if the people who are doing the tech for it aren't up to their game, then that's the limiting factor. So it's really important that we all collaborate together. And then the music director not only is part of the direction crew, but the music director in this case is also a performer. And in this case, I was playing piano for every single performance and conducting the orchestra up in our pit, so that we could ensure the quality of the music from opening night all the way to the closing.
Wow, that is a lot. And I knew that, and even after listening to you tell me all that, I'm still like, that's still a lot. That's amazing. And you talk about how you help actors find the emotional content of it. So it's more than just saying, here's the notes on the page that you have to match as a singer, but how do you connect with the emotion? And it reminds me of a story. We brought in the absolutely gifted Altamise Cooper to play our witch in Into the Woods last summer, and I just remember you two working together at the piano during that Act 2 song. Of course, the name of it escapes me. Wish the Witch. Yes.
Yeah.
And just watching her work with you and find that emotion and find that drive that pushes her through the song. It was, again, that is part of the process that our audiences don't get a chance to see. They see the final product on the stage, which she made me cry every night she sang that song. But talk a little bit about, that how does an actor start to work with the music director to say, okay, I'm having a little struggle, maybe I'm going off on a little tangent. How do you bring them back around? What is that process with an actor when it comes to the emotional drive of a song?
Yeah. So first of all, if our audiences don't know, Timberlake produces our shows in 12 days. It's a very accelerated process, especially coming from the academic world where they'll work for several weeks. So I remember the night that Altamise Cooper and I got to work on her solos. It was early in the process, and it was kind of we were really gifted with a lot more time together than I normally would have had, just because of the way that the rest of the rehearsal schedule was lined up. So, you know, she and I had met a day before, but instantly became connected. Not only is she just a powerhouse vocalist, but she is just such a smart actor, and she knows how to approach a text. And so I knew that she was up for diving deep into the text. And so we went into that text, and I'm also a gigantic music theory nerd, and I was pulling out all of these references that Sondheim was using, and you know, this chord was the same as that chord from that other song, and it shows these parallels between the witch and the wolf, but here's how they're different. And we must have spent probably like 4 or 5 hours on her solo repertoire for that show. And so I think that's really what kind of put her performance over the top, where, you know, it's an incredibly complex show from a musical standpoint. So, you know, most actors, if they can just get the notes and the rhythms, they're ahead of the pack. But she was so ready to engage with that heart aspect. And I absolutely love delving into text. I think that it's just the thing that turns singing into communicating. And I knew, Paul, since you and I had been working together since that was our second show of the season, that you know, you and I could collaborate with the actors to help them to dig their deepest as well, so that moments with you and moments with me could all serve together to make their performance as powerful as possible.
I think that's important to mention. You know, a lot of again, what we do behind the scenes is you know, well, short of a small miracle, because we have you know, basically 14 days from stem to stern to open a show, and it really does take all of us, a director, a choreographer, designers, music director, all, you know, stage management, working in tandem and working on the same page, which is why a lot of work goes into it before we even hit the ground running. And speaking of a lot of work going into it, one of the things that you were able to do in this COVID time was you were also the music director for our virtual reading of What a Wonderful World. And this opened up a whole lot of new challenges and opportunities for us to learn about the craft of what we do, to do it in a virtual setting as opposed to gathering and normally what we do. And what you and Jesse Vargas, our music supervisor, pulled off is nothing short of spectacular. And so talk to us a little bit about how that process was in the virtual world as opposed to something that we would have done if we were gathered in a theater.
Well, first of all, I think that the dark circles under my eyes have faded from that process. You know, it was really, I feel very blessed to be both a part of the workshop, the virtual workshop, as well as several months before, to really be a fly on the wall with the New York workshop, so that I got to really delve into this show at a very deep level and really understand the show and kind of the mechanics behind it, and fell in love with the music. I cannot wait to do this show live. Honestly, the show has so much heart and it's hysterical, and the arrangements that Jesse Vargas has put together are the golden thread that pull it together and give it cohesion. I know our audiences are going to be thrilled with it. So one of the unique things about doing a virtual workshop is that you know, there's a delay in the video conferencing platform that we were using, as you know, most platforms have. So you really can't have groups of people singing at the same time because it's all going to be kind of misaligned. So if anybody has tried to sing Happy Birthday to a relative on Zoom, you know what kind of chaos that can create. So we knew that we couldn't do that. So it really transformed the way that this workshop would work into a very different kind of beast than an in-person workshop. So the first thing that, you know, you and I and the other directors and designers and producers had to do was we had to get very clear about what were our goals. What did we really need to get out of this workshop? And we we realized that those goals were a little different from an in-person workshop. For Jesse, he really needs to be able to hear his arrangements. So having all of the vocal parts there. And he needs to hear the pacing, and is this section long enough, or does this tempo need to be different? So what would have been a live performance turned into a gigantic recording process, where we really, in the span of about a week, recorded essentially an original cast album of a little over an hour. And we had to figure out what was the most efficient way to do that so that he could hear his arrangements, but we also didn't want to overwhelm this cast that it was all scattered throughout the country with this project. So we ended up having two of our women castmates record all the female ensemble, and then I recorded all the male ensemble parts so that the ensemble stuff was taken care of, and that way we could really focus on the principals and the soloists, so that they can piece all of their recordings together from wherever they are. I know Felicia was learning how to use GarageBand. You have this great new microphone, and so we were sending tracks back and forth, and just making sure that it was not only an accurate representation of the music, but that it was an engaging representation of the music.
Wow, that was, and again, that when I heard that, and I know that I heard a lot from our virtual audience, when they heard that music, they got so excited. I got so excited, and I absolutely agree with you 100%. I am so very excited to put this on our TLP stage in a very real way in 21. And I don't have to. I will. We will be there with me. Even if I have to come to Chicago and get you myself, you're going to definitely be there.
We'll be there. We'll be there.
And lastly, I want to just say on behalf of everyone here at Timberlake, you talked about how last summer was a bit of a pivotal moment for you in your career and your journey. And if I may, I just want to say that all of us here at TLP are so very proud of you on your recent win of your Jeff Award for music direction of your Big Fish production, which I had a chance to see in Chicago. Just for those of you who might not know, the Jeff Award is a Chicago theater award, kind of like the Chicago Tony Awards, and they are given out once a year, and they're both in the equity and non-equity. And Michael, our very own Michael McBride, won Best Music Director for Big Fish. Go ahead and talk a little bit about that production, Michael, because I'm sure it was a very important milestone for you.
It certainly was, and I was thrilled to have you there. That meant the world to me. I know you traveled a really long distance to make that happen. This production of Big Fish was just such a beautiful experience from beginning to end. I started our first rehearsal the day after I got back from Timberlake, and I have to say that being at Timberlake it's a boot camp experience, really. It's a place, like you were talking about earlier, that if you really put your heart and soul into it, then you get to be equipped with the tools and skills that can help you to be successful in a lot of other areas. I really felt like it was an artist's colony, so we got to just focus on our art. So I was already on a high, and I showed up to our first rehearsal of Big Fish, and the company was already just lovely and talented and kind and really intelligent. And so being able to partner with them, with our director, Stephen Shellhart, our choreographer, Megan Farley, who was also at that same time assistant director for Six here in Chicago. And then she followed it to Broadway, which was kind of amazing. So I love the story. I love the score. I loved the people that I got to work with, and getting the recognition of the Jeff Award was just really a nice way to just remember a very beautiful and special time in my life.
Well, we really congratulate you on that, Michael. It's always a real proud moment when people from TLP have that kind of success, and It makes us smile.
Thank you so much for being here tonight, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences, and thank you so much for everything you give to Timberlake Playhouse. You are truly a gift, and we are so blessed to have you as part of our company. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to put up a few of the messages tonight, the comments tonight. Congratulations on your Jeff Award. Great to see Russ and Michael. I think Mike was in the 82 company, wasn't he? Wasn't he your costumer?
Mike, dude. Oh,
Yeah.
That's a yes.
Well, he still is a TLPer. He is on the board, and
that is
one
so
of our vice presidents, and does an incredible job at, especially in the fundraising side of things, but also just a great counsel. Comment here from Mohammed. Comment from Alan.
Yay!
Ginger and Sam are great TLP.
We love Ginger and Sam.
Great TLP supporters and patrons.
I know that bear.
You know that bear. Our wonderful Ted Robinson.
And Michael, since why didn't you think we should have had Michael on the show tonight? He's an 83 company. What's wrong with us?
Come on.
ask me back, man.
Well, thank you both for being with us tonight.
It's on your Jeff.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
On that side, yeah.
Yeah, it's backwards. You have to learn it's all backwards.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Thank you all for first of all being a part of TLP. Thank you for coming and joining us tonight, Michael. We will see you whenever as we
soon, Michael, because we do have to talk about your involvement with our virtual
concerts.
So right.
By the way, I absolutely loved the video that you and Gabe did. Incredible. In fact, it has motivated me to learn how to do that. I am setting up my basement to be able to do that video. Not that one, but one like it. So
I cannot wait to see what you produce.
They're awesome. They were just awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with us. In fact, I think I threatened to share it with everyone here. I think we'll do that sometime. Maybe next week we'll share it.
That video was inspiring because that video led to our video that we were able to do with Michael and Felicia for the What a Wonderful World that we were able to, and Michael did that as well. So he's just a man of all trades over here, Renaissance man, Mr. McBride.
Very good. All right, Russell, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Paul, thank you for being on again. And we got a lot of work this week to do.
And thank you, Dan. Thanks for being on the show with us, me and you. And we will be back here next Sunday, 6:30. We hope to see you all back here. Thank you so much for being a part of our Timberlake on virtual community. Dan, you have yourself a great night, my friend.
You too. And everyone, just remember, we're all in this together. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you.
It's good to see you tonight.
if there's ever anything I can do,
Well, I tell you what, I will get a hold of you when we work on this. This I don't want to call it a documentary because that's not what I want it to be, but just whatever it is we do here in the next few weeks, and I'll get a hold of you. We'll figure out how to get you involved in that too. Maybe we get John on for that. I'd love to get John on. I'd love to get Joyce in on that.
sure,
So,
sure.
yeah.
Well, you're keeping an important thing alive, Dan, and bless your heart.
Well, thank you, sir.
Keep
Good
your
to
health.
see you, man. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll talk again soon.
Joy, a total joy, total joy.
All right. Bye now.